All right, this week we are looking at interview skills. So, mastering interview skills, just kind of essential tips for acing your next job interview. What's an interview? Basically, an interview is just a conversation between a job applicant and a potential employer. Um, Obviously, it's going to be a very key step in the hiring process. Not many jobs that there won't be some sort of interview. Some might be more formal than others. Um, some of them might just be a quick little conversation. And moving on from there. It all just depends on the job. Why are the skills important? It's all about first impressions. It's like you meet anybody. If you give off a bad first impression, why are they going to think that you are worth their time and money to train, put whatever effort into, and hopefully have you work for their company, to trust you? Being good at it's going to increase your chances of getting hired. There's going to be times where people who are incredibly qualified for a job are horrible at interviewing and come across as either fake or maybe not able to work in a group or work with the team there, that they could be incredibly qualified, but they're going to miss out on opportunities. And it's going to demonstrate your basic communication and problem solving skills. So you got different types. Your traditional one-on-one interview. That's just you're going to sit down across from somebody and have a conversation, talk about it. A panel interview. Same idea, but multiple interviewers. Like when I interviewed at Brown City, it was Mr. Kohler, Mr. Hale, Mr. Hagee, all kind of sat across from me in chairs. It's a one-on-one interview with just more people. A behavioral interview, it's going to focus on past experiences, more look at the skills that you've picked up over the years. The group interview, which I've been a part of as well in the past, that's where many candidates are all interviewed together. They might ask you to interact in certain ways, might give you a task to complete, and they're going to watch and observe who leads, who follows, who has ideas, things like that. And then what's becoming more popular, not necessarily the phone, but the video interview. Phone interviews have been around for a little while, kind of used as like a first step before you got to a traditional one-on-one. But with a lot of work, going remote, things like that, video interviews are way more common. As well as if you're looking to make a move. Let's say you live in Michigan and there's a great job opportunity in Florida that you're looking at after you graduate school. They may conduct an interview, do everything from a distance. So it doesn't necessarily require you to pay to go down to see them. It doesn't require them spending the money to bring you out there just for an interview, but will still give you a very good idea of who you're going to be dealing with, working with. Preparation for an interview is essential. I cannot express deeply enough how important it is to prep for an interview. Research the company you're going into. Look at their mission, their values, any recent news. Before interviewing with Brown City, or the Browns, the school's mission statement, things like that. That way, when I word responses, kind of like I talked about with your resumes, cover letters, is using the right keywords. If, honesty is a key part of their mission statement, well, then I'm going to make sure that a lot of my stuff evolves around honesty, and I point out how I am an honest person. Understanding the job role. Know exactly what you're interviewing for. If you go into an interview and they're asking you about what you're going to be doing at this company, how do you know how to even properly respond if you don't know what job you're interviewing for? And then preparing documents. Always bring a cover or a copy of your resume, cover letter, references, work samples, anything that you might need. Bring it with you. You'd much rather have it there in a folder and not need to hand it to them than for them to ask. There's plenty of places interviewing for teaching where they're going to want you to give examples of lesson planning, writing up lessons. And if they ask you about it and you have to tell them like, oh, I can email you a copy later, doesn't look great. But if you can simply just pull out of your folder and go, oh, here you go, here's a copy right here, it's going to be very beneficial for you. Dressing. Dressing is another very, very important one. I can tell you from me interviewing people in the past, you can overdress, you can underdress, you can just plain dress wrong for an interview, and it will affect getting a job or not. I interviewed people working at a dog place when I was training dogs. And you're going to be working with dogs, and it's dirty and it's kind of gross sometimes. It's not a sanitary, clean place. If you come into an interview like that looking so done up that I would question if you even know what it's like to get a little dirty working, you're not setting yourself up to succeed and get that type of job. People are going to look at you as, I don't think we can hire this person. So make sure you dress for the job you want. 9 times out of 10, kind of stick with this standard here and you'll be good. If it's an in-person interview, wear a suit. Gentlemen, always wear a suit. Women, a nice formal dress. Suits are dark colored, simple. Don't go crazy on tie colors. Keep it professional. A virtual interview, dress the same way, but clean up the background. You know, behind me today, I'm going to do this video. My wife's cooking dinner and stuff. I turn the camera, so at least you're looking at a door with some decoration on it. You're not looking at somebody running around the kitchen and food stuff everywhere and a big mess. Same idea for an interview. If they look at you, you might look great. If your house looks like a complete mess behind you, they're going to feel like, okay, they just dressed up decent for this. This person doesn't have their life together. They don't even know how to take care of themselves. How can I trust them at a job? Key one, and I've seen it, wear pants. If you're wearing a suit, wear the pants that match. Don't just put on a nice shirt. Had a gentleman in a class of mine years ago. It was during COVID, we had to do a virtual internship. And he had his nice shirt and all that on. Somebody came to the door that he had to run and answer his door real quick. And he had pajama pants on underneath. That situation, it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but if that's an interview, if that's something important for work, they're not going to be happy. If it's a casual environment, we call it smart casual attire. Wear a decent pair of pants, a button-up shirt, a polo, something like that. Look decent. For phone interviews, the idea is still to dress professionally. Get it in your mind that you are a professional, that you're doing this thing for a professional reason, and you will tend to react and respond in a professional manner. For an outdoor, hands-on type interview, say you're interviewing for a roofing company. They may ask you to come out and work for a little bit. Wear your nice work stuff. Wear a decent pair of boots. Wear the decent clothes you have. No, you don't want to wear a suit when you're up there doing some roofing, but at the same time, you don't want to look like your clothes are falling apart and you don't have anything. So work with that. Body language, very important. Posture, sit up straight. Don't slouch over. If I'm sitting here like this the whole time, either I look bored, I look unprofessional, I look scrubby. Take advantage of your posture. Eye contact. We want to make eye contact, but we don't want to be awkwardly staring at the person the entire time either. Handshake. Firm, nice. Don't try to break their hand either. That's one that a lot of people could practice. Smile. Be warm. Be approachable. You don't want to be like goofy and silly and laughing the whole time, but have a pleasant look on your face. Avoiding the negative body language stuff. Fidgeting. Crossing your arms. Looking at a watch, phone, whatever you have. Leave your phone in the car. If you have a digital watch or a smart watch, leave it in the car. You don't need that type of stuff with you when you're interviewing. Some common questions, and we're going to work on this stuff more throughout the week, is the basic is, tell me about yourself. Focus on your professional background. Don't, especially you guys in high school, girls, don't start talking about what you enjoy on the weekends and what's fun to you and hanging out with your friends. They don't care. No matter what they say, they don't care about that stuff that much. Unless it's going to negatively affect your job, they don't want to know about it. I'm going to explain myself, I am a teacher, and this is, why that represents me, and go that direction. Another one is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Be honest, really emphasize the strengths, but don't lie about weaknesses either. If you are a horribly unorganized person, don't tell somebody that your biggest strength is your organizational skills. Because if they hire you for that reason or for that thing, and day one on the job, they see how unorganized you are, you're probably going to be leaving. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is a question that you want to make sure you are honest with, but not too honest. If you're taking this job as a stepping stone to something bigger, don't tell them, in 5 years, I see myself quitting this job and doing something else. But align your goals with that. Right now, I'm going to school so I can be a principal, superintendent, work in admin and education. If I were to interview with Brown City today and they ask me what are my goals long term, or where do I see myself in 5 years, no matter what my true feelings are, I'm going to tell them, well, I'm going to school to get into administration so that eventually I can be a principal or a whatever with Brown City Schools and line it up with Brown City. Even if my complete, intentions are, I live in Croswell, I want to work in Croswell. You're not going to tell them that and have good luck with your interview. Then they're going to ask, why should they hire you? And that's where it kind of go back to number 2, highlight your skills. What makes you unique? What makes you better than anybody? Looking at some of your job applications, resume stuff that you've sent in, a lot of you talk about hands-on skills, mechanical stuff. That's all great, but how many people are going to tell me that? Like just in this small class, I think I had 5 of you tell me that you're good with your hands and you have good hands-on or mechanical skills. So I don't know the difference between the 5 of you. I've never seen you work on anything. So just from those words, I think, you're all the same. So tell me what makes you unique to everybody else. Maybe your mechanical skills, hey, I specialize in wiring and vehicle wiring. This is something I'm great at, or I'm worked with diesel. I'm a diesel mechanic. Get into specifics there. The STAR method for answering questions. It's kind of a new one to me, but it's interesting. I think it'd be very helpful. When you're asked a question, first, STAR, situation. Describe the context of what happened. Task, explain the task or the challenge at hand. Action, detail the steps you took. And then R is share the result, share the outcome. So if somebody asks me, tell me about a time you handled a difficult situation at work. I might tell them, for the situation, I had an extremely upset client because our company missed a deadline. So my job then became to satisfy this customer while also acknowledging that we made a mistake and making them happy with how we're going to fix it. So the steps I took is, I assured the customer that I will handle this. I got in contact with our people who made the mistake, came up with a game plan of how this will never happen again, went back to the customer, explained to them, hey, we took this step, this step, this step. Now we're doing this for you. I'm going to offer you this discount or whatever. And ideally, in the end, the result is we managed to keep a customer happy. We did have to sacrifice a little bit of money in the short term, but long term, this is a benefit to us. So goes through the whole situation there. Most of the time in the interview, they're going to ask, do you have any questions for us? Make sure you show interest in the role. Questions like, what are growth opportunities? If you're getting an interview here soon to work at McDonald's, just to flip burgers or to make fries at McDonald's, that's great. But ask them, hey, what opportunities do you have for me after I turn 18? Or long term, where can I see myself with this company? Hint that you want to get into management, things like that. Even if they don't use you for that long term, it's still going to make them more likely to want to hire you for what you're interviewing for today. Can you describe the company culture? if they have a hard time telling you what the company is like to work for and what the people are like there, be a little concerned. If they tell you that, hey, we're a big family environment, we're always joking around and this, might tell you a little bit about the professionality of working in the place. So try to find out what it's like. And what are the next steps in this process, in this hiring process? Because you might be on a phone interview. And if you ask them what the next step is, they tell you, oh, in 3 to 4 days, we'll contact you if we want and move forward to a one-on-one interview or whatever we're going to do. That way, you are not just sitting there waiting. You know when and how to follow up with them without making it pushy. If they tell you it's going to take us 3 to 5 days until the next step, and in 2 days you're emailing with like, hey, I haven't heard from you guys yet, how are things going? They're going to feel like you might be a bit pushy. Difficult questions, they're going to happen no matter what. Things like, why'd you leave your last job? If your boss was a giant a-hole and you left because he treated you like garbage, saying, I left because my boss was an a-hole is not going to help you. They're going to feel like you might say the same thing about them. But you could word something like that as, I felt like it was kind of a hostile work environment, so I moved on to better opportunities that fit with my mentality a little bit better. What's your biggest failure? This is one where, go back to organizational. Let's say organizational skills. You have had issues in the past. You weren't organized enough, and it has affected your work in some ways, or maybe you lost a client in there. Acknowledge it. Tell them. Say, hey, organizational skills have always been a challenge for me. In the past, I've let it affect certain things. But here's the steps in the process I've taken to guarantee that I'm not in that spot anymore or to make myself more organized. Key thing, stay calm. Think before responding. Take a second. I know when you have people staring at you, a second feels like forever. But when they ask you a question, just stop, think about it. Okay, and then offer a response. Focus on positives. Don't dwell on any negatives. There's going to be questions where afterwards you're going to go, oh my God, I bombed that one. So what? Move on. Move on. Next positive thing. Keep a good attitude. Some post-interview tips. Follow up with an email. Usually within about a day, within 24 hours. You don't even need to question anything, ask them anything in that interview. You might just email them and say, hey, thank you so much for meeting with me yesterday. I really enjoyed talking with you. Maybe if there was a question you bombed, you could say, hey, I have more time to think about this, and I really feel this way about it. And tell them you look forward to talking to them soon. Reflect on the performance, know strengths and improvements. Stay patient. You can follow up, you can check, but be patient. You don't want them to feel like they're being pressured into making a decision, because that decision will be not you. It'll be to wait. Keep the communication open. Understand that they may get busy too, that maybe they plan on 3 days, but something else came up within the company that has nothing to do with the hiring, and now it might be a week. So be understanding, be patient. If they tell you 3 days, don't start emailing them at 73 hours throwing a fit. Final conclusion, some key takeaways. Remember, preparation is key. Plan ahead, prep ahead. Practice your questions. Practice them with your parents. Practice them with your friends. Help each other out. The whole goal of having a friend is supposed to be to push each other and enjoy time together and have things in common when you want the best for your friends. So ask them to help you. If you know you have a big interview coming up, have your friends quiz you. Have them randomly ask you questions that may be in an interview. Kind of put you on the spot there. Make it awkward. Make it so you got to think on your toes. And it becomes that much easier when you have to do it for real. Dress professionally. Use good body language. Sit up straight. Do all those things. And always follow up. Keep the communication there. I think follow-up is more important than we realize. When I interviewed with Brown City, initially I interviewed for a different spot than where I'm at. And they hired somebody else. It's somebody who had taught in the district in the past, had a lot more experience than me, things like that. That they got the job, I didn't. It made sense. Professionally, it made sense. but I still stayed in touch with Mr. Hale. I still sent him emails of, hey, that's great. That's good for you guys. And, hopefully we can still communicate. Think about me if something else comes up. I think even in between there, I might have sent an email or two with like, hey, just thinking about you guys, checking in, seeing if anything new had come up yet. And then all of a sudden I got a phone call with, hey, we have this new position and we want you to come in and start teaching science and this stuff. So it's all because I kept that communication open. Assignments this week, we're going to work on stuff with practicing some interview skills, practicing how do we answer some of these questions, and the proper dress. So we're going to work on those things throughout the week. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out.